What's up? What's up?
What's
Hey,
up?
what's going on?
All right. So I mean, I'm glad to have the Alabama connection here with me today. uh, we're going to be talking a little bit about marriage and so a lot of times there's agents that both spouses are real estate agents and maneuvering in that whole situation. But before we go into that, just let everybody know, we do these every Thursday at 11 o'clock. I'm interviewing somebody that within their industry, and the goal is to provide tremendous value industry to the industry as far as real estate agents. And here we're Tina and Porter. So what's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey,
How are you?
hey, good to be here.
I'm good. I'm good. So I always like to start off with the journey, right? Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how you all got into real estate, and then we can kind of get into how you all both connected and got the license to want to work together.
Okay. Well, I started in real estate about 4.5 years ago. Um, I came from an insurance background, so it wasn't a big transition. However, I was ready to reset the conversation some. With insurance, it can be um, not as fun. And so the conversation with real estate is a lot more light, a lot more fun. And so it's been going pretty good. I'll let Porter speak about when he came in, and then maybe we can talk about our journey together.
All
Okay.
right.
So I've come up. I initially was Bertina's driver. So I would, take her around and just kind of make sure for the safety aspect. So psychology is my background. So I've done counseling, taught school, done several, I've even got into some insurance with her. Yeah, the insurance conversation, nothing against that. It's definitely not as exciting, when you're talking about in the days as opposed to someone's most exciting purchase. So I got my license in October. I often say November. She corrected me and said it was October of last year. Um, and and yeah, I'll let her speak some of where we're at now.
Cool. So I mean, the journey is all right. So I always ask, I always say like, the thing that a lot of times we're currently doing before got into your own business is the thing that's going to kind of help you in that whole in your own business. So
Mhm.
how do you think that being in insurance helped you transition into real estate sales?
For me, it helped me to be used to listening to customers, actually hearing their needs, being able to assess what products and things would be good for them and what would not. So, in this role, it's kind of the same thing, like I'm listening to customers, and really just making this whole experience about them versus about me. So,
Yeah. So so because you listened, you were able to do that, and it was about them and not about you. You were able to transition to state sales. It's all about the other person, right? It's all about that particular client being, get that dream home or being able to sell their home for the most amount of money and get them their next destination. So within that whole process, so so on that real estate journey, from there, what are some of the things that you've been able to help your clients do that kind of separate from, say, the other real estate agents?
you kind of cut off a little bit. I think I heard you asking what are some things that set us apart from other agents?
That you're able to provide, from that background that separates you from some of the other agents that might not have that experience?
Oh, well, definitely, I think helping customers prioritize and to see their final destination. So sometimes we can get stuck in or just caught up in some of the glitz and glam, but to be able to walk them through some things to the end so that they can really make the best decisions for themselves. One of the things that we really like to do is in our consultation to really get into their motivation and just different things on why they're making the moves so that we can make sure their needs are met and not just give them a product.
Okay. All right. So you're doing that. You got that going, and Bertina got her license, and Porter, you driving her around for safety, making sure she's straight while she's in the passenger seat. Um, and then like a light bulb goes off, right? And that light bulb says, why don't I get my license? So like, explain that whole situation. What sparked you to actually get your real estate license, and actually join and start working with your wife?
Well, it's funny. It could be a couple of things, but I remember one thing in particular. We were showing a house to a family, and the guy had like loads of questions, and of course, uh, they had two children. The wife was going around looking, and he was looking, and as a man, he just wanted to have a conversation with me as well about what was going on in the house, and I think I had spoke on something or said something that I wasn't supposed to, so far as not having the the legal, or the professional ability to speak on something or answer that question. And she was like, "You can't, you got to be quiet. You can't say that." And I was like, "Yeah, if I'm going to be out here, I'm going to need to be able to say something or speak on the questions that they're asking." So
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to make sure you're saying the right things. Speaking on it, so
yeah.
so it was kind of indirectly because I guess you felt like you was a real estate agent. You felt like you was doing, that you could just kind of chime in and start saying stuff until your wife told you like, "Hey, babe, cut that
Yeah, yeah, he's not qualified to speak on that. So
out." So you all so from that situation, I guess y'all had conversations about you getting your license and what that looked like. Is that pretty much how it worked?
yeah, we had vacillated about it a couple of times, and really it was we end up we were in Walmart. She had a really good instructor that she had, and we just so happened to run into him that day. We asked him about class, and he was like, "Oh, it starts tomorrow." And so I was in class the next day. It was like, yeah, you asked and it presented itself. So I went right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So man, I do think, man, it's something about like immediate action.
Mhm.
So I mean, you got so many people where they want to do things, or they might even know that particular thing is better for them in their life, but they procrastinate. Or, they slow down. They don't make the move right away. But I mean, it sounds like from what you're telling me that I mean, I guess y'all had tossed it around a little bit,
Mhm.
but the guy said that there's a class the very next day, and you was in that class. I mean, it's something about taking immediate action that makes that makes things change in your life, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
Agree.
yeah. So yeah.
So, so what did you think, Bertina, when when he was getting his license? Was it something that You know, it's like he's good. He's invading into your space, right? A little bit. I mean, how was that thought? What was that thought process at that time?
um, I think it was exciting to see him kind of go through some of the same steps that I had gone through. And I think, even for him to be able to understand this side, because when you're not in it, you're just looking, it seems a certain way, but once you get in it, you're like, oh yeah, I get it now. So it was exciting though. And to be able to work with my spouse was really good, really cool. And just the idea of that and us building something together, something that we can bring our children into, if they choose to later, but just something to build and, make a legacy for our family. So that was really exciting.
Yeah. So, so like just I'm coughing, so excuse me for that. But all right. So what does that look like? Like just the I guess the strategic part of it, right? Because
Mhm.
a big part of it is a lot of people they're solo agents, and it's just them by themselves. But you all are basically y'all a team. So like, what are like some of the strategic advantages you think you have by being able to work together, bounce ideas off of each other in order to grow in this industry?
Well, I think it helps with strengths and weaknesses. There's things that I'm stronger at, so I can, take hold of those things that he does better. So, not having to kind of work on all of those weaknesses at once, so to speak. But we're able to kind of pass the ball for what we're good at and work together that way.
Yeah. What would you say those are, Porter? What do you think about?
Well, initially, I think even just at the tail end of the last question, it's like, man, I did not know that it was this intricate. So I don't know if I'd have signed up the very next day if I'd have known what it took the list and all the different things you have to put in. But I definitely have a deeper respect for the job that she's been doing, and just learning from her and seeing the things that make sense as to, oh, that's why you said that, or oh, that's why you did that, or um, it's just given me a different respect for the job that she does, the abilities that she has, and even just working, the deal from the beginning to end. And me just coming in and learning some of the parts that I'm able to do, like she says, kind of better, but learning in increments as opposed to really being thrown out there, having to do it all and box things.
Yeah.
I don't have to go through that.
Yeah. Man, so it's not as easy as you thought it was watching your wife make things happen,
You
right?
just made it look easy. You just made it look easy.
we,
But it's not.
well, we do that a lot, right? So, I mean, before I got my license, I was an investor first. And if you ever
Mhm.
work with investors, we think we know it all anyway. So I really got my license honestly just to find my own deals. I felt like I can do better than what other agents. And I learned quickly. It's like, man, it's a little bit more to this whole commission based thing than I actually thought it was. So
Yes, it is.
I had to get up on game real quick. So
Yeah, but
hey, and respect comes once you start to see all that stuff. So like, man, I actually respect the industry. I respect what they do a whole lot more, just simply because it's not just an easy thing to do.
mhm.
But but all right. So you all situation right now, like I said, with y'all working together, like some there's other agents or other people that want to work together, and they're married. What like but they talk about the balance, right? Like what's the balance between home life and actual work life, because you're both in it together, right? You know, and it's business, but you got a family, you got the alone time that so explain that, like mixing those things together, like how are you all doing that?
Well, we're still looking for some of those sweet spots in there. I think that, for me, it helps with segmenting. We've tried a couple of different things, and we failed a lot with, hey, that's not working, hey, that's not working. But I think for me, segmenting seems to be doing better. So just looking at my day, like, hey, I'm at work at this point, from here to here, and then just kind of breaking it down, like, okay, we're at home, and especially working from home,
Mm.
it's difficult, So, but I think just for me, taking a day and chopping it up and saying, hey, from 9 to 3, we're just working, as much as possible. And then after that, it's like if I'm needing to do some work, I can, but mostly I'm at home. So if something just jumps in, it's like, okay, let me handle that real quick. But if not, I'm at home.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Same way with you, Porter.
Well, a little different. I would say that she's definitely more disciplined about the working from home. I can almost need to get out of the house a lot of times and just go somewhere else, to focus on making calls or whatever we got to do. It does help that we don't have to be doing the same thing at the same time unless I'm needing to kind of look and see how she's inputting something to seek to learn that way. Um, I, I think that one thing that helps is when it's broken up and we got to go do some showings or, we got, some lessons. So that helps me because, we get to get out and do some things like that. So that honestly breaks up the day a lot for me when we get out and do some of that work.
Yeah. Man, I mean, what you're saying is just kind of like time blocking, right? I mean, that's what you're doing. You're time blocking for you to do the activities, and you're also time blocking for family time.
Mhm.
Um, and that's huge. I mean, I think most agents um, they don't do that. They don't time block. I mean, they just kind of work whenever, or don't work whenever. So for some of the ones that's not as productive. But if you look at it like a job, where you come in at this time and you get off at that time, because most of us had jobs before we actually got into this business. um,
Mhm.
we were productive within the time frame that we were at our job, but then we get off of that, and then it's a little more freedom because you don't have that boss telling you that, hey, you got to do this thing.
Yeah.
So now we're sometimes people get lax, but if you keep that structure, like you said, from that 9 to 3 or 9 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever that number is, and you're doing the activities during that time, then what I find is you actually will have more freedom because you created a business that's around your life, rather than rather than your life being around your business.
Yeah.
You wanted that particular way. But go ahead. You got something to say, Porter?
Yeah, I will say something else I think that really helps, that's helped us tremendously, is that we don't take for granted that we know what's on the schedule. So, we use that Google Calendar, we put it on, we include each other in the invite so that we see. And that's helped tremendously, even for maybe something that I have on there that she says, hey, you got this at this time, or she has something. I say, hey, this is coming up in 30 minutes. Alert comes through, so we're able to remind each other as well of those things.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine like just bouncing stuff back and forth as well. Like, because just to be honest, like how it is. Like, I mean, everybody has ideas of what they're needing to do in business.
Mhm.
But if you're solo, you just going based upon just what you think. But
Mhm.
if you got somebody, you're bouncing back and forth. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this other thing? And then y'all are kind of making that decision together. Now, at the same time, that can be good or that can be bad, just depending on the situation. But
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
that some of what y'all do now?
kind of. It is challenging. I think like it looks great to work with your spouse, but there are those times when that is your spouse. So it's not like you get to leave them at the end of the workday or anything else. So sometimes it can be difficult to make the decisions and things like that. We do take time every day, like he was saying, to talk and communicate, to make sure that we get that done about our business, because sometimes we can talk and it's about the kids. It's like, oh, it's about home, it's about all these different things. But you do have to have the time to talk about your business, like, okay, what are we doing? What strategy are we implementing? And so we've had lots of conversations like that, and sometimes we're agreeing and sometimes we're not. Sometimes he's like, you know what, I think I'm gonna do this way. And so so it takes the grace also to allow each other to be each other, to say, okay, you know what? Like for me to allow him to make some of the same mistakes that I made, because I made a lot. But for me to be able to allow him that grace to do it his way, to figure it out, and him vice versa when he doesn't understand or doesn't know why I want to do something, for him to give me that space to do it. So I think that part is the most precious, just to be able to be yourself, even though we're connected in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What about, like, I guess, kind of cutting it off, right? I mean, because I would imagine. I mean, let's say y'all are, you're working, he's working, and y'all are doing your thing, and you're trying to conquer the world, and then, like, that time where you just, like, all right, now it's time for, like, just relationship time, right? Like how does that go? Do you carry? I mean, I imagine you probably do carry it into that relationship time, the business part of it. But is it a conscious effort that you gotta be like, all right, we're not gonna talk about business right now. We're gonna go out to dinner, or we're gonna go on this date, or like, is that ever a conversation, or how does that work?
I'll feel this one first. It's kind of more fluid because even with us, so we have five children together. We have three grandchildren now, and two of our youngest, they're still in the house with us. So sometimes you know, our oldest child, her husband, they come over and they got two kids, and it's in the middle of the day. So and sometimes we'll end up spending time with them, and so that means that, you know 9 o'clock at night, some might spill over because you got to do that. It's almost just really learning, like the farmer. You got to do the work till it's done. It's not a cutoff sometimes.
Mm,
And so I think just even just the beauty of being able to work around our lives, it means that sometimes it's gonna have to be done at a different time. But it doesn't feel like a burnout in that, because we just make those adjustments, if that makes sense.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, and I guess just kind of going back what y'all was talking about, like, just separate, like, responsibilities. I mean, it's almost, kind of like, you divide and conquer. Like, your strengths is, might be her weaknesses. Her weaknesses might be, your strength, and same vice versa, things that she's strong at, you might not be strong at as well. But I mean, you together, you making that match, to be able to hit all things, because you know how it is. Like, whenever you start your own business, you wear all the hats, like every single hat to that business. You got it on. So you're the marketer, you're the person that's going out, you're the transaction coordinator, you're the inside sales agent, you're all that stuff in and of itself, and usually it's just on you. But I would imagine, like, if you got a partner or business, somebody you married with, like, you get to take off at least half of those hats and give that to the next person, right?
Mhm.
Well, I don't know if she's been able to take off half of her hats yet. Matter of fact, I would say she hasn't. Just be totally honest with you on that. But I am trying to come on and learn whatever I can learn to take things away, and she has to delegate those as well. So it's and I got to be humble enough to take those delegations. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I
we're
mean,
working on getting that.
you may. Well, some hats have been taken off. Maybe not half, but some hats have
Yeah.
been taken off. And we're working on other ones.
Right.
Man. But it's cool that, I mean, you get to learn together though.
Mhm.
One of the big things is, like, as you all are getting more familiar with this, and growing, in business, to have the spouse to be able to learn the same thing, because a lot of times, you're just not on the same level sometimes. Like, if a spouse is doing something else, and you're hearing high level stuff, which is, in this business, and I know who you're connected with, and people you're connected with. So for their reason, I know you're learning from the top, and the mindset shifts. Like, you start thinking bigger, you start thinking about bigger possibilities, and if that other person is not really hearing the same thing, then they might be, you know I'm not gonna say left behind, but you're just not necessarily on the same track. But if you're in the same ministry, you're hearing the same thing. You're able to grow a whole lot faster, in my opinion. It's kind of like, if I was going to liken it to something, I'll just say church, right? So, if you're going to the same church, you're hearing the same message, you're learning from the same person, you're getting the same everything, then your spiritual growth hopefully should be the same, or growing in the same level. So it's like, so when something outside of what you're currently hearing comes up, you repel that. And
Mhm.
it's the same thing with, with what we're doing here. Because of the knowledge and the training and everything that you're getting, when you hear something that outside of that, you repel that, but you're repelling it together. It's not just repelling this one person.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's definitely the best way to go, like sitting, like you were saying, sitting up under the same teachings and things like that so that we can stay connected, because it's hard, it's hard to connect when you're off, so it's definitely better if you're connected, stay connected, because there's a journey within that journey to get back together, to get on the same page. So that was like a big issue of mine, I think, before he became a realtor. Because I was hearing a lot of things that was challenging my mindset. And so, it was like, hey, it was, things that was just rocking my world, that I was like, hey, you got to hear this. You know what I'm saying? So that was huge for me. And so that kind of got me to talking to him, that started some of those earlier conversations with just the things that I was learning. And then, even coming to EXP, it's gone up, from there. So, I had a pretty good foundation, but it's gone up even more. And so, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah. I mean, you all have been just so great and teachable and hungry and ready to make things happen. I mean, I can't think of no other two people that I like working with, to be honest with you, just for the simple fact that y'all get it. You get it, you understand it, and I'm watching the growth and as y'all maneuver through everything. I know, it's starting just with you two first. You're the first team, but you're gonna even grow bigger than that. You're gonna have other people and things of that
Yeah.
nature. So I know that I mentioned that and kind of talked about that a little bit before, and I can see the growth and all the stuff that's happening. So,
Mhm.
um, what advice would you have for somebody that is, have a spouse that is have their license? What advice would you have for that person as far as making that connection? Um, in order for growth.
I would I would say to allow them the space to, like don't try to control the situation, but allow them the space to grow on their own and set something up that works for them. So, every model might not work. Um, and, having a piece of everything might not be the way to do it. It might just, if you don't see a model that works for you, create your own.
Love it.
Good. I think for us, just or anybody, it's just the habits, being mindful of those. And there are some that we hold true to, like we had read the Miracle Morning years ago, and so I seek to implement that, and we hear that from so many different ways. Whether we're sitting down doing journaling at the same time or not, but just having some of those same things. And it really goes into, are you listening to the same books? Are you following the same people? And we don't read the exact same books, but we'll cross, and or we'll read some together. So he reads a lot more than I do. But anyway, just really staying connected in that way, and even scheduling your time, like we'll walk together, or scheduling your time that you do sit down and talk, or you pray together for that matter, but just making sure that you keep some time for you all as you do these other things. And if you got to schedule it in there, then schedule it in there to make sure it happens, because if you don't get it down and you're not intentional about it, then it's not going to happen. So
Love, love it, man. Well, look, like once again, like I said, we do these every Thursday at 11 o'clock, interviewing somebody that's killing it in their industry. And once again, man, I totally thank Bertina and Porter for jumping on and just kind of sharing with the group and letting us know their journey and everything they've been able to do. So, man, I appreciate y'all, and I'm looking for even more success in the coming months, years, and everything. So, all right.
absolutely.
Thanks so much for having us
Yeah,
on. We
thank
really
you.
do appreciate it because you're killing it as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
thanks for taking the time out to talk to us, and good luck in your future as well.
yeah. Thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely.